The notes for the patch 13.23 have finally been released, and today I want to go through all of the changes that will impact the game in a very big way. And we can start with the most important change that they will do on this patch, which is the turret gold adjustments. What they have done, basically, they have reduced the amount of global gold that you get, meaning that for taking a turret, uh, your teammates will get less gold. However, they have increased the amount of gold that the person who is near the turrets get, and this is huge because this means that now split pushers can get out of control if you do not if you're not careful with that. However, to put it into a bigger picture, they are shifting the power, from a person who takes a turret. Instead of the entire team to become stronger, what they want is that person who takes the turret to become much, much, much stronger than everyone else. So this will allow that person to have more power and therefore more carry potential as a solo player. So an individual will have more damage rather than before, which was the entire group who was getting stronger together. Now that individual will truly be a problem. And this means that if you have Jax or Tryndamere or a Zed or something like that that enjoys going into side lane and split pushing, you can get out of control by taking these turrets, because no one will be able to match your power in terms of gold, and it only gets even further. It's like much. It gets even worse if you take an inhibitor turret. Inhibitor turret gold was buffed from 50 gold to 375. This means an increase of 325 gold. So, man, this is truly the best, or it could potentially be the best split pushing meta in a very long time. I have been playing League of Legends in about 10 years, and split push was killed several years ago. There's a lot of the strategies revolving around 131 got killed. They buffed the turrets too much. They nerfed the gold too much, and they nerfed the, um, the minions as well too much. But this is the right way to start giving split pushing more power, because now you get a lot of gold for what you are doing. So Tryndamere mains, Jax mains, or people who enjoy going to top lane and stomping your opponent, this might be your patch to come back. But not only this, in the mid lane, it might be your time to shine as well. And let's talk about this. This also means, since split pushing is going to be very important, this means that wave clearing is going to be absolutely fundamental to winning a game, as wave clear is the maximum counter of split pushing. So if you have something like an Orianna, which was already strong in the previous patch, it becomes even stronger right now because Orianna is a character that can wave clear really well, it scales well, can teamfight well, and not only this, it is a very safe character. But what is important about this is the changes that they have made into the mid lane champions, especially Azir. Azir got the W changed. They have reduced the damage that it has. Before it was scaled from 2 to 92. And now it only scales from 2 to 77 damage. And they also increased the damage at higher levels, from 118 to 110% and less AP scaling. But man, that is a good nerf considering the massive buff that it gets. Hear me out on this, all of you Azir mains, and for all of you people who have been playing for a while, you guys are about to get your brain exploded because the W attacks on the primary target, meaning his W, his soldiers, now will trigger on hit effects. Now, it is true that it is less damage than normal, 50% damage the value, But the fact that you can trigger on hit effects makes Azir an absolute monster. What counts as on hit effects? Rage Blade's Phantom Hit, Runan's Hurricane, Kraken Slayer, Blade of the Ruined King, and you guys, if you have been playing for a while, you know what Blade of the Ruined King Rage Blade can do to make a character busted. Especially if you have played around the Kog'Maw meta. This is insane, because this could open several opportunities for Azir to become a permaban, really. Imagine proccing Rageblade on hit effect with the range that this shit has. With that massive range, man. It is like having a max level Kog'Maw buffed by Emilio. And that is in the worst scenario. Like, this thing is gonna be unstoppable if these effects manage to stack well with his kit. So we are gonna need to keep an eye on Azir, because Azir was already a counter to Orianna, as he was really good into her. So if Orianna becomes meta due to the split pushing, Azir might become the #1 priority in the map, because he counters Orianna, he outscales Orianna, and now not only this, he will be able to have this on hit attacks trigger on him, or his soldiers trigger on hit attacks. So this is something to keep an eye on. And aside from this, if Azir becomes meta, you are gonna be seeing only wave clear characters in the mid lane. You're gonna see more Vel'Koz. You're gonna see more Xerath, for example. Potentially, if you're gonna see a lot more Aurelion Sol, as Aurelion Sol is good into both Azir and Orianna. But not only this, maybe even maybe you might even see you might be forced to bring up assassins as an answer, because assassins, you will be able to have pressure on them, but also you will be able to go and split push. But really, I feel like this meta is gonna be all about wave clearing, considering the changes to Azir and the fact that Orianna is still in the game and that character was broken as fuck already. In fact, from the words of Dopa, Abdo himself, for those of you who don't know who Abdo is, he's a solo queue player of Challenger Korea that got rank 1 every single year for several years, but also, not only in Korea, he also got it on the super server of China at the same time. He was rank 1 on both servers, and he was the nemesis of Faker back in the day in solo queue. And he says this, I was watching his stream, and Abdo said, if Orianna is played well, she has no counter, and she has no way to... she has no losing matchups, and she can just farm up safely. And you are forced to play around what she wants, or forced to try to look for risky plays to get advantages, because she's just so safe. So if Orianna stays in the meta as a strong pick, Azir will have to come up, Xerath will have to come up, Aurelion Sol, and all these characters. So that is something to keep an eye on. But this is on the higher levels, We still need to think about, well, Syndra also might come up, which was already a very popular character for a lot of people. And answers to these could be in the assassin form, Akali, for example. Akali, Sylas. I wouldn't say Sylas, because there's a lot of answers to him now that split pushing is going to become potentially strong. In solo queue, Jax completely destroys Sylas, so that is something to keep an eye on. But if you want Sylas, it could work if you are careful of the matchup. But nonetheless, the mid lane matchup is going to be very spicy. And the top lane as well. Top lane, you're going to definitely want to pick, if the meta allows it, you're going to like to pick Tryndamere, Jax, and characters like this. But let's continue though. This was just the first change. Then they're gonna go and change Briar, which is a direct nerf to Briar. Briar, they reduce the HP, and they reduce a bit of the damage, they reduce a bit the numbers on the W, which is important because she is a very fun character to play. She's so cool, and she was picked a lot in the lower levels. But because of these changes, if you gank now, you might be at issues of just dying, straight up dying because of the HP. You do have a less HP, and therefore you will have to less HP and less damage, so you will have to be careful on your ganks. But we need to see how she performs. With other characters being stronger than Briar, I don't think it's worth it to look um, at these numbers just yet, because you would like to pick other junglers anyways. So yeah, it's okay, a good way to balance her, but um, there was already other better options. Next, Draven, quality of life adjustments. Draven used to be my main back in the day. Draven R now returns to his body after striking a champion while he's dead. And this is quite interesting. This means that if he's dead, the R will come back to you, going through the character that kills you and potentially getting your kill. So this is a good quality of life. Nothing too spectacular, but this means that now even if you die, you might have a chance to get a revenge kill while dead, for example. Nothing big, but it's nice. In the AD carry, let's see, did they buff other or change any other AD carries? No. So in the AD carry meta, however, this could be interesting because we have seen a lot of Kai'Sa, but because split pushing now could become a factor, we are gonna need to have stronger early game characters. Draven might start to appear, Samira, Kalista might start to appear more often than not, while before it was all in on Kai'Sa, probably Saya, a bit of Ziggs, but now you might see, or even Senna, but now you might see Draven, Kalista, potentially Varus and Jhin. Not so sure on this change, but we need to keep an eye on it, especially on Samira, because Samira was already getting played in the Korean Challengers solo queue, and I was watching those games. So Samira might be something to keep an eye on. Kalista is definitely a candidate, as well as Draven, to come back into the meta. So we need to keep an eye on that. But aside from this, we still are too early into the patch. It was released just right now, or just a few hours ago. So let's see how the meta evolves in the following few hours, in the following few days. So for AD carry, if you want a safe pick, Samira and Kai'Sa are the ones that you want to go for. Probably Saya. No, not Saya. Ezreal, sorry. So Samira, Zaya, and Ezreal. Those are the ones that you want to go. And then from there, test the waters to see if there's other strong characters. Let's go into the support. Janna. She got bonus movement speed ceiling changed from 20 to 35 to 30%. So stronger in the early game, weaker in the late game, which is good because she lacked a lot of power in the early game. Considering how strong she has been in the past, in comparison, she needed a bit of love in the early game. But let's continue. Her W which is the slow, the cooldown was reduced quite a lot. It is 1 second cooldown in the early game, which is a lot, and in the late game as well. And the targeting, 650 range center to center, now is 550 range edge to edge. No, this should make W better against large targets while being neutral against smaller targets. So basically, this only makes it easier to hit bigger targets. But what is important is the cooldown reduction on this. Monsoon. They have reduced the cooldown by 20 seconds and at all levels. And this is big considering that they also nerfed the other, they also buffed the other aspects of her. So this is a way to bring Janna back into the game, but with characters such as Blitzcrank being so broken that it needs to be permabanned in Challenger. Uh, Probably we are not gonna see Janna just yet unless characters like Draven becomes meta, because Janna Draven especially was a very popular matchup back in the day. So Janna Draven might be something to to um, to keep an eye on. But aside from that, we might still see something like Samira Blitzcrank or Senatam Kenj or Kaisa with anything. Really. Next, though, is a very important nerf. Cooldown change from the Q on Jarvan. Um, they increased the cooldown in the later stages from 6 seconds to 8 seconds. So you're gonna take longer to be ready for engages. So no more spamming EQ or QE, which is what a lot of people used to do on team fights. You used to go in, try to space correctly, and then go in again, leaving very short window for people to outplay you. Um, so that is something to know. He won't be able to spam as much, but this does not make him useless. Jarvan was the number one pick in Challenger and in across all of solo queue for the several recent patch. In fact, it's been like this for a few months now, and it's not gonna change. Like this change right here is not gonna change. It will, however, make him more approachable, so that is good. But I don't think that this is definitely not going to push Jarvan away from the meta, especially when the next characters that are at this level are well, the meta usually in solo queue is you have Jarvan, then you have Wukong, and from there you can have other stuff like Real, Lee Sin, for example, Viego that could work. But Jarvan, Wukong, and Hecarim, Hecarim especially being very popular in Korea and China more often than in the Western regions, in Challenger, I mean. So Jarvan, Hecarim, Wukong, it will not change much really, but this may be enough for Lee Sin to go up one spot or for Rel to have better outplay potential or something like this. This will definitely boost other characters. Not enough to dethrone the king of the jungle at the moment. K'Sante. Now this is the most important change in the entire patch after the turrets, because K'Sante was heavily nerfed. They nerfed the Q, nerfed the W, well, not really nerfed, but they bug fixed it. They did nerf, well, they changed the E and they changed the R, like everything. But what did they do? Increase the cost of mana for the Q, so he won't be able to spam it in the early game anymore. And even if you could spam it, you would have a reduced damage. So you will be doing less damage the longer the levels go. For the W, fixed a bug that allowed K'Sante to launch Path Maker's Dash early. Nice Path Makers. So this is just a bug fixes, but this bug is one of those mechanics that people were abusing, so that's also a nerf to some extent. Footwork, and the E, this is a shield that got a bit of extra flat power, but reduction on the bonus HP, which is good, meaning that this is quite of a nerf in the early game if you are stuck in HP. But in the later stages, it could balance it out with the flat numbers if you are even in lane. If you are ahead, it might be a nerf. But if you are even, it could be okay with the flat damage, because they did increase the flat damage quite a lot. But this is just a change of power. In general, to reduce you having too much shield if you are just stuck in HP, which is what a lot of people doing when they were buying like Giant's Belt, Ruby Crystal, and so on to get more HP. Um, Now you won't be able to abuse that, or not as much as before. Still though, the flat extra damage, the flat extra shield is good, but just a change in power. The R all out got a nerf in the early game, and or like the passive damage, from 45% to 30%, and in the later stages it will have more damage. It will do 3% more damage. So this is interesting, meaning that you will have less damage in the early game, and this is kind of what the change on the E did. Change of power of the early game to have more power in the later stages, or in the mid game, really, not really in the later stages, but in the mid game. Bonus attack damage from 15, 30, and 45 to 10, 25, and 40. So a direct nerf on the attack damage. This is just a flat nerf in general. I think what really is important is that now you will not be able to be that oppressive in the early game, especially with the Q spam in lane. This leaves the opportunity to characters such as Jax to win against you because they already have a good matchup. This leaves the opportunity to potentially a Gwen to come out. Gwen, Jax, potentially Aatrox, Darius, definitely. Like, all of the matchups start to open up, and matchups especially that could win lane against you so that they can start split pushing. They could become more viable. However, we need to remember where K'Sante was before this nerf. He was in permaban status. It's not like he was just strong. He was, I'm gonna ban you because you are far better than everything else. So these changes might only bring him down into a normal level, into, okay, now at least I will not die 10 times to you type of level. So we need to keep an eye on K'Sante, because he could be a threat. Then Naafiri, she got nerfed, which is interesting because Naafiri is a good matchup into the playstyle that they want to make into this patch. So they are just saying, we know that Naafiri could cause a problem to split pushers or counter split pushers, and we don't want you that. We want this playstyle to be played, and therefore fuck you, Naafiri. And that's what these changes mean to say to me, because they're just straight up nerfing every single one of her stats. To me, it's just Riot saying, we don't want Naafiri in this patch. On the opposite side, you know what character is good to stomp lane? Riven. The problem with Riven is that she's pretty bad. Probably she on the later stages she got a bonus damage from 65% to 70%, but this is too little. Probably at 75% that would be enough, and here she needs an extra bonus damage up until 35% if she wants to. I just think of Riven, and I'm like, why would I ever pick Riven even with this buff when Fiora exists? And Fiora does like 10 times more damage than Riven. So this is not enough. This is not enough for Riven to become useful. And I know this because this is a character that is very close to me. I used to play a lot of Riven, but as soon as Camille got released, as soon as Fiora got released, no reason to play Riven anymore. Especially Camille. Camille is just a better Riven in every single way, shape, or form. Let's continue though. Trundle. Attack damage growth from 3 to 4, and the chomp mana cost got reduced. And you know what character is good into certain split pushers? This dude right here. And do you know what character is good against tanks who counter split pushing because they wave clear so fast? Or they can match your split pushing, such as Sion? This dude right here. This could be the way to bring Trundle back into the meta. Because when Orianna is meta, when Azir is meta, when split pushing is around, this is your dude to keep everyone at bay. Is this enough to make him have a comeback? Potentially, yes, if played in the right matchups, because he was already very powerful into Olaf, for example, and these changes just will make him completely destroy Olaf in the top lane, just to put an example. So need to to keep an eye on this, especially in the early game, because the changes to the mana cost could mean that he could have an easier time, not just laning but also jungling. So we need to keep an eye on Trundle. Vel'Koz. Well, do you remember now how I told you that characters such as Xerath or Vel'Koz could come back? Well, Vel'Koz just got buffed. He got a pretty big buff on the passive. Flat damage increased from 35 to 180. Sorry, before it was 33 to 169, and now it is 35 to 180. And he also scales better with AP, and now he scales from 50% before to 60% now. So he is definitely much stronger. And this could be a way to deal with the current meta. A way to deal with Azir and Orianna, especially, who could become strong or very strong. It is also a way to deal with the new bot laners, because now if low range characters such as Kai'Sa, Zamira, and Kalista can become meta, this thing will keep them at bay. So that is something that will become meta in the lower levels at the very least. In the higher levels, we might not see him, but we never know what type of cheese strategy they could bring. So Vel'Koz in the lower levels definitely gonna be really nice. Ziggs. Now Ziggs is a character that works well against anything that wants to push against you, but because he is played into as an AD carry, he got some changes. The base attack damage got increased, so he will be doing more damage with his auto attacks. His Q damage got decreased. His W damage got, well, the cooldown of his Q got increased as well, and the mana cost got increased. So because they don't want Ziggs to work in the bot lane that well, they just nerf him straight up. They nerf the Q, they nerf the W. He will not be able to be that oppressive in lane, because they don't want this character to work in a meta where split pushing is strong, or where snowballing is strong. So definitely a good nerf in my eyes, because Ziggs is one of those characters that was already starting to be played almost every single match, just like Kai'Sa was in solo queue in the higher levels. So it is a disgusting character to deal with. And it is even worse to play with Ziggs, because you know that yes, he will stomp in the early game, but after certain minutes you will just fall off because you don't have an AD carry, and it shows. In fact, this is what happened at Worlds. At Worlds, they tried to play Ziggs, but they couldn't do much after laning phase, because in competitive you will stall long enough for the power of Ziggs to start being ineffective. And that's what happens. I was well in solo queue quite a lot of times when you have a Ziggs that doesn't know how to play him well. When you know how to play him well, he used to be very oppressive, and that's why they changed this, because they don't want to have him around split pushing meta. But with that, I think I have gone through everything. Turret adjustments, I talk about that. Nexus Blitz, ping changes, everything. Yeah. Oh, this is what's truly important. Upcoming skins. Oh, this looks fantastic. Oh, look at that. Beastcrank. I need this. I require. I I want this. It looks so good. The Beastcrank. This is awesome. This is awesome. I might get myself. Oh, look at that! It's so cool. And this is what truly matters, not the fucking changes. This is the true. This is what League of Legends it's all about. It's all about skins, man. And skins makes your character have more power. So yeah. I might get myself this. It looks cool. Kin bigger, more Veigar skins. And this is nice having Vel'Koz skins, because Vel'Koz doesn't have that many skins. And look, a little cute little face. I don't know what to think about that. It looks. Oh, this Kuroma looks. These chromas look sweet. But yeah, this was the change of it. This could be the beginning of a split pushing meta I will definitely keep my eye on it. I want to see how this develops. And just as a rundown, what's gonna work? Anything that can abuse the fact that you get so much more local gold now. In the bot lane, strong laning characters, Samira, um, Draven, Kalista could become meta. In the mid lane, anti split pushing meta could be good, like Orianna, Azir, probably Aurelion Sol. In the top lane, Jax, Tryndamere, even Cassante, really, because Cassante was very powerful. Man, it's like Cassante was permabanned across all ranks. People did not want to face Cassante. So imagine this. A nerf doesn't mean that he's gonna be shit all of a sudden. It just means that probably now you are actually gonna be a character, not something so powerful that no one wants to face you. You know, so yeah, anything that can abuse the fact that you get so much gold is gonna be good. But that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this big rundown. I try to make it as detailed as possible with the information that I have gotten from Korea, from watching Korea, you know, players that are already playing at this patch, but also from my own experience in solo queue, my own experience with Riot in general, understanding what they like to do in their game, and so on and so forth. So let me know what you know in the what you think about this in the comments. But for now, my name is Comet, and I am signing out. Thanks for everything. Peace.